All right. Hope this is working okay. If you're watching this video, like I always say, this is a posted live stream. I'm going to start going live every morning for my morning show. And this is the afternoon show, evening show. I don't even know what we're calling this, but yeah, I plan on going live 2 times a day. And later in the day, this will be more of like stuff I wasn't able to talk about during the morning show and some topical topics. So great to see all of you guys. Thank you for being here. Make sure to please like the video. Make sure to subscribe, notifications, all the things so you don't miss the live streams. And great to see the people joining in. Thank you guys. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about this idea of using facial recognition to track protesters, or at the very least, put them in a database for future reference from Homeland Security, ICE, or anyone involved in deportation operations. This topic is starting to go a little more viral, or getting a little more steam, considering Democrats have put that in one of their demands. They're okay with body cameras, but not to track people. So I am curious what you guys think about this. We're going to dig into it, look through some clips, and this clip is really what started to go pretty viral as far as hearing direct wording of, I'm taking your picture and I'm putting you on a list. So this is going to be in Maine, that operation in Maine that happened a few weeks ago. It was called Operation Catch of the Day, if I remember correctly. So check this clip out, very quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Look at them. Look at them. The ICC guys, be careful, be careful. They're over here.
It's not illegal to record.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
Okay, so let me know what you think about that so far. So here's the thing. Legal observers are allowed to videotape federal agents, but legally speaking as well, federal agents can also film you back in public. But that's not really what the debate is. The debate, or the pushback from the Democrat lawmakers, more so is holding on to the video in order to either track down or to put somebody on a list. Again, I'm just here to show you guys sort of what's going on right now and the different talking points circulating this. This was Tom Homan back in January, sort of notioning that, hey, by the way, this might be already happening, or he's definitely in favor of it. And again, you guys let me know if you are in favor of it, if it means pushing back against protesters who cross that line. But when I did my morning show this morning, there actually were some ICE supporters who said, I understand the premise, but at the same time, I do question what could happen later on in the future. So keep that in mind. There are some Republicans or conservatives who would support ICE who might have some pushback. But here's Tom Homan back in January.
This job and these people who want to say follow ICE, and film ICE, you know what, you can protest, they have that right. But when you cross that line, and we've proven it, if you interfere or impede or assault an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted. And one thing I'm pushing for right now, Laura, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impediment, assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are.
And by the way, again, this was a month ago, January 16th. And Tom Homan, I think, may have had a big part in it. I mean, he was advocating for it at this time. But let me tell you something. When you go to the Homeland Security social media, I mean, man, they post way more pictures than they used to. When I was covering the Portland protest, I mean, you would assume that would be the time where the Trump administration would be like, look, you see, there are protesters who are crossing that line. Agents are getting attacked. The building is getting destroyed. You really didn't see much of posting individual protesters. Right now, I mean, during my morning show, the Trump administration announced, yeah, we have arrested 150 of these protesters, and you can actually see their pictures way more often than you saw in 2025.
Because as you said, a lot of these people, they say they're taking time off work to protest. I bet you a lot of them are calling in sick. I bet you a lot of their employers don't know what they're doing. But we're going to make sure everybody knows who they are. We're going to broadcast. They want to broadcast the ICE officer that was nearly killed all over the internet. We're going to broadcast every one of these people we arrest.
Okay, and let me tell you, they are definitely doing it. So you guys can let me know how you feel about that. Now, again, the actual part in which is being contested right now from Democrats, and by the way, as of right now, all non-negotiable. Republicans don't care that this is even here as far as meeting the list of demands for Democrats. Body cameras for accountability, not tracking, require use of body-worn cameras when interacting with the public, and mandate requirements for the storage and access of the footage, prohibit tracking, creating or maintaining databases of individuals participating in First Amendment activities. Now, big question on First Amendment activities. Does that include the protesting, the legal observing?
Civil liberty advocates and some lawmakers are sounding the alarm on the privacy risks of federal agents using surveillance toolkits during immigration enforcement operations.
Yeah, armed with facial recognition on their smartphones and professional camera gear, ICE agents are actually photographing the faces of the people they encounter during their daily operations. So it's all setting a new precedent for street-level surveillance and raising a lot of new privacy concerns.
NBC News AI fellow Jared Perlow joins us.
AI fellow. Now, again, keep in mind, what we're told right now is that this is done in public. If quote-unquote legal observers track or follow in public, then that's where we're seeing a lot of the taking pictures back in public as well.
Now with this story. Good morning, Jared. And Jared, your article this morning reveals how these ICE agents are using these tactics during their interactions, their daily interactions with both possible targets and also the people, the citizens who are observing all.
Let me back up real quick. I think she almost said surveillance. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but she almost said surveillance, I think. You guys can be the judge of that.
Both possible targets and also the people, the citizens who are observing all of this, right? What's happening out there and how is it different today, how they're using these tools?
Well, so I think it's important to realize that facial recognition itself is not new. We've had this technology for decades. Many people use it. Millions of people use it every day when they open up their smartphone or when they go through TSA. But what's happening now with ICE and Border Patrol officers seems like an incredibly new phenomenon and in decently scary ways, according to the people we talk to. So it seems like there's two different ways they're using it. One, they're using a new app called Mobile Fortify from the Department of Homeland Security. And this app basically allows officers on their smartphone to determine somebody's citizenship status. So we've seen this happen, or we've heard reports of this happening in Minneapolis, for example, where ICE agents will go up to an individual, they'll ask about that person's citizenship status. If they don't have papers on them or documents proving their citizenship, then they can then scan a photo of that person's face using this app. And
like we always do during these live shows, one, if you support that, if somebody doesn't have papers and you take a picture, press 1, press 2 if you don't support it, and press 3 if you're iffy. I'm really curious what you guys have to say. Again, when we look at a lot of these events, we have to think sometimes contextually why there might be a benefit to taking pictures and why there might be a rush for federal agents to try and figure out whether or not you're an American citizen if you are surrounded by protesters or you might feel like you got to get out of there. Now, I see a couple of 3s. I don't see a single 2, but I do see a few 3s. Somebody asked, how accurate is the app? You know, that's a really good question.
it will run
because I have no idea. And that's my response to you.
Through its algorithm and determine whether that person is a citizen or not. The other way that we've seen this facial technology.
We do have one, too. I see you there, and you're a member. Thank you, JJ.
Facial recognition technology being used is to take pictures of observers. So we've talked to people in Minnesota and in Maine who went out to observe ICE. They were at a gas station in some cases. They were looking at what the ICE agents were doing. Then the officers took pictures of them and in some cases said that their photo was going into a database potentially of domestic terrorists.
And again, just like a 2-second recap, that's what we just watched, by the way.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
Okay.
So it's a pretty concerning situation.
So we know that obviously civil liberty groups, lawmakers, regular citizens are really sounding the alarm about this and about the risks. What specifically are they saying, and has Homeland Security responded in any way?
Yeah, so again,
I do think we need some points of clarification here. Okay, when we say everyday Americans, are we talking about Americans who are watching TV and are not in the street and a part of this legal observer movement? Or are we talking about obviously from a legal observer's perspective, there's going to be some questions or pushback if they're the ones who are observing the ICE activity and now all of a sudden the camera has been turned. So when we say legal or the everyday American, we do have to make some qualifications here as far as in the context we're speaking of.
Facial recognition has existed for a while, but it's usually existed in a passive sense. You know, if I go to Times Square or Madison Square Garden, there might be facial recognition cameras that you recognize that I'm there. But this sort of targeted individual approach seems really new and for many privacy advocates very dangerous. So according to DHS documents, nobody can refuse to be scanned by this Mobile Fortify app in the field. And they also keep those photos for 15 years of non-citizens.
Okay, so now let's do a vote. If you knew that the database was going to be 15 years, 1, if you still think that's okay, 2, no, and 3, I don't know yet. Now I'm curious what that's about to be.
And citizens alike. And we've talked to experts at the ACLU, at privacy groups like EPIC and the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and they say this is just a drastic escalation, and especially if there's no way to opt out, your photo basically gets added to databases of 250 million other photos that the federal government controls.
All right. I think the 1s have doubled. No, we got some more 3s and 2s for sure. But again, to his point, this is nothing quite new. It's more so new in the context of we're talking about, which would be this legal observer aspect or flipping the script and following Homeland Security officers.
So, Bill, this is interesting. One of the main demands we've been hearing from Democrats is they want ICE to wear body cameras, and Republicans are okay with that. But now Democrats are saying they're worried those body cameras will be used to surveil or spy on anti-ICE protesters or track them in some way. So now Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are saying they want restrictions on how those ICE body cameras will be used.
And I also want to point out again, all of this seems to be in the context of these legal observers or the protesters who are going above and beyond. And I even hate to use the word protester, but as far as trying to find a word that makes a category for people to understand, protester seems to be the only category. But I want to emphasize, when I say protesters, I'm talking about more so crossing that line of protesting and you might get in trouble. So again, contextually speaking, the pushback doesn't even have to do with illegal immigration or tracking illegal immigrants. This is more so for the protester aspect. Now, this was President Trump when the announcement was made that, hey, we're going to send body cameras to Minneapolis, and he's like, okay, that's great.
Kristi Noem just announced that you're deploying body cameras to Minneapolis. What's your thinking behind this decision, and do you want to see this?
Well, it wasn't my decision. I would have, I leave it to her. They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if she wants to do that, I'm okay with it. Remember one thing, we closed the border. I got elected on a disastrous border, and we have nobody coming in through our border anymore. We had 25 million people come in 4 years through our border. Many of them were murderers and drug dealers and mentally insane from mental institutions and insane asylums. And now we don't have anybody coming in. For 9 months now, they actually report 0. We have 0 people coming in, which I find hard to believe, but the Democrats do that report. They tend to be left-leaning that do that report. So I assume it's true. If it's not, it's a very tiny amount of people. But we basically have a tremendously perfect, strong border. And also, crime levels are at the lowest point they've been in 125 years.
Okay. So moving on. Now, my disclaimer right now is do not take this as me advocating for Angelita Murillo. She is a Portland city councilor. But when I used to follow Portland very closely, this video came out in September 2025. And she was one of the first lawmakers, politicians, she's a city councilor, who came up with this, not came up with the idea, but started pointing out her idea as far as what the next move for ICE is. I'm going to let the clip speak for itself. But Angelita Murillo in Portland was already talking about this idea that she may suspect or sees that AI and data tracking was going to be the future against these protesters.
I believe that the next frontier of fighting fascism in the 21st century is going to be through stopping mass surveillance. And we know that ICE has really been beefing up their capabilities with regards to mass tracking and surveillance, both of activists and of immigrants themselves. He says hello. ICE has been using traffic cameras and data from companies that are willing to sell all of your personal information to map out people's lives, who you connect with, where you drop your kids off to school, what
And to give you guys context, keep in mind, at this time, we were getting to the pinnacle of the clashes. And this is when the Trump administration started to, like, sort of pay attention and be like, oh, there is something really going down at this Portland building. And the Portland City Council, they were really on the ropes. Protesters were demanding something get passed, figure something out. We need help on the ground. And this was Angelita Murillo at the time talking about this topic that now is becoming a lot more prevalent.
Protests you attend, and if you're an immigrant, tracking you even more closely than that. So our data privacy is going to be the next frontier of making sure that we can actually express ourselves and protect our immigrant community and not be heavily surveilled or policed because of it. The final policy my office is bringing forward will be to prevent private security to be used to detain immigrants, thus helping ICE until they're able to come pick them up. So we're hoping that we can't regulate the federal government, but we can ensure that private security are only enforcing local and state laws, and our local laws have sanctuary city protections.
There you go. And to my understanding, Oregon already, I mean, with sanctuary laws, you already have this divide between transferring data depending on legal status as well. So keep that in mind. And it's great to see all of you guys. Again, thank you so much for all being here. Just so you guys are aware, I'm going to be doing 2 live streams a day. It's going to be my morning show, whatever that's called, the morning show, and then the evening show. Very creative. But the second video or the second live stream of the day will just be some more points we didn't get to go over during the morning show. And a lot of people missed the morning show. So this is something I definitely would want you guys to see or recap on, as far as this idea of using trackers, if you will, or identities to AI identities, maybe is the better wording, to track down who protesters are who might take it too far. So this video was posted very recently indicating there's going to be more protest.
One of the most difficult things about living in the Twin Cities over the past couple of months has been spending time outside worried that this might be the moment that ICE decides to target me. But also, I've actually spent time with Twin Cities residents and watched them fight for our communities and stand up for their neighbors, and I am in awe every single day. Besides the ever-growing protests, the Sunrise Movement in the Twin Cities has a strategy that's been working exceptionally well. We're doing the sexy stuff. We're targeting logistics. The Twin Cities Sunrise Hub knew that the best way to support all these amazing activists was to take their defensive strategies and add at least one offensive one on top. We have to make sure we block every single way ICE moves around this city.
Now, keep in mind, if you guys missed the beginning of this live show, we played an interview where Tom Homan said he's in favor of facial recognition, and then not only that, posting your picture or video so that maybe your employers will see what you're doing. And Tom Homan, and you guys can let me know how you feel about it, Tom Homan is pretty much saying this seems to be the best deterrent. When you turn the camera around and you get exposed for who you are, according to Homeland Security, this might slow people down from trying to do bad things to the agents. This is from, I don't know how to say your name, I apologize. Thank you for the generous $5 donation. Ellister? May you please cover the pending law in Virginia that forbids criticizing Islam if it passes. It does not cover Christianity or Judaism. I will look into that. I have a show coming out tomorrow morning where I actually have some Virginia stuff in there. Thank you so much for that. Randy Wheeler, thank you for the generous $10 donation. You have no expectation of privacy in public, says Randy. But yeah, I actually do have Virginia policies already ready to go for tomorrow. But I will look into that. Thank you.
ICE needs cars to get around. They need hotels to sleep in. And we know for damn sure no one is letting them crash on their couch. So since ICE's actions ramped up last November, Sunrisers have decided to focus on the hotels. We figured out where they were staying and we just started showing up. If you drive around the Twin Cities, you're going to see veteran and brand new hub members making noise outside of hotels every single night. Ultimately, this strategy is simple, not only because it pisses off ICE, but it starts to get these hotel chains mad. And eventually they're gonna have to stop accepting ICE's reservations. The best part about this strategy is that everyone can get involved almost immediately, and it can scale up. We can start targeting rental car companies, gas stations, and other businesses in the area. But the real next step isn't to scale up in the Twin Cities, but across the whole country. We don't just want Hilton hotels in Minnesota to...
Let me know what you guys think about this, by the way. Whenever I see videos like this, I definitely start to pay attention because in Operation Midway Blitz, there were some organizers who were saying, look, we want help. We want people to be out observing. And in Operation Midway Blitz, within a month, you saw pretty much the entire area of Chicago and the greater areas of Chicago really expand into what it is as far as agents cannot move an inch without getting watched in Chicago. I mean, everywhere Chief Bovino was going, they were being monitored 24/7, it seemed like. And thank you, Scooby, for becoming a T-SPLY squad member. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Stop housing ICE. We want hotel chains across the country to publicly withdraw their support and assert their right to refuse service. After every Wide Awake demonstration, more and more people become aware that ICE is a menace that doesn't deserve food, shelter, or sleep. My experience over the past couple of months has shown me that these hotels know we have leverage over them, and they're going to have to stop enabling Trump and ICE, or they're never getting a moment's peace ever again. So if you're in the Twin Cities, you know exactly what you're doing this weekend. But if you're in any city, San Francisco, Chicago, Philly, any city where ICE is terrorizing its residents, find a hotel and get started.
Now, I do want to point out, it was interesting she mentioned San Francisco. San Francisco has virtually seen almost no clashes between federal agents and protesters or even like the local police, nothing like that. In fact, Spencer Pratt, political candidate who's running up against Mayor Bass, noted, I don't support ICE, but I do support working with ICE if that means getting federal agents out of the city. And he actually noted San Francisco. Very early on when ICE, or Border Patrol, if you will, were operating in California, San Francisco was a hot spot for some clashes. And now we don't see or hear anything coming out of San Francisco. Now, why is that? Well, this is the perfect segue that I didn't plan. Working together, according to the Trump administration. Now, I have been doing some research, and I finally found it. West Virginia, as you guys know, had this operation that nobody knew about. We're being told 650 people were arrested, and finally, we're getting a little more information as to what's going on. I mean, even Homeland Security is like, yeah, whenever we cooperate, there's no confrontation. Cooperation, not confrontation, is what they're saying. So, we have this going on here. This is the state AG talking about how this all went down and why there were no clashes at all. I didn't even see advocacy groups, and to people who are smarter than me said on the ICE tracking apps, or ICE tracker, or whatever you want to call it, there was nothing that even popped up in West Virginia either, mind you.
That have law and order attorney generals like my... I think the most important thing to notice here is that West Virginia and similarly situated states that have law and order attorney generals like myself, places, you know, like South Carolina and places like Nebraska, Iowa, who have attorney generals who are really interested in ensuring that federal law is followed, have made it very, very easy for criminal illegal aliens to be picked up and processed by ICE. And when you contrast that with places like Minnesota, where you have Keith Ellison, who's obviously embroiled in a massive fraud scandal involving Somali immigrants, etc., where, you know, billions of dollars.
And we do have more and more people coming out. I have a video tomorrow of a mayor in Minnesota talking about this fraud as well. So the interesting thing about Minnesota is that you have several missions occurring right now that have all sort of just been melted into one operation between the deportations and this fraud operation that's occurring.
Of Americans' tax dollars have been stolen and wasted. And then in those states, what you see is riots and violence. And unfortunately for, you know, everyone involved, deaths as well. And so what we know is that the federal immigration law has not changed. And so we're operating under the exact same laws that President Biden operated under. We're operating under the same laws that the first President Trump administration operated under. And we're operating, importantly, under the very same laws that President Barack Hussein Obama operated under when he deported millions and millions and millions of illegal immigrants and has a
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been trying to do some research into what exactly is the main argument or the difference between the Barack Obama deportations and the Trump 1 and 2 deportations. You guys can let me know what you typically hear. What I tend to hear, in fact, I have a clip, I think, lined up after this. People will say, well, those deportations were different. They were more targeted and they weren't as aggressive. Now, however you want to identify what the word aggressive means in that sentence or that context, I'll let you guys decide. But that seems to be what the main pushback is whenever you compare the Obama deportations, which was pretty substantial when you look at the numbers.
A myriad of press conferences where he talked about the importance of borders and how nations can only exist when we get to choose who becomes an immigrant here. And I think the last thing on this sort of topic that's really important to remember is that all great Americans, all patriotic Americans, all God-fearing Americans believe in immigration. We believe that the promise of this country should be available to those who want to come to America the right way, follow our laws, and become great parts of this incredible quilt that is the American experience, where all of us understand that there's so much that can be gained by people moving here from different places that can add to the American experience, but it has to be done the right way. And if your first act as a hopeful new American is to break our laws, that trust has been broken on the first day. And so all of us are.
And look, again, those statistics are not looking great right now for Democrats. I'm just trying to be honest here, trying to be as fair as possible. If what this person was saying is not true, I mean, when you look at the polling and the stats, the majority of Democrats will say it is a crime to come into the country illegally, and obviously the mass majority of conservatives, Republicans would say the same thing.
They're trying to make sure that we have an immigration policy that's enforced.
I know that might be hard for some people to realize, but it turns out more Americans than you think don't like crime. So that should be a good thing for the country, that the mass majority of Americans don't like crime.
And that we have borders that are secure, and that we know who the Americans are that are here, and that the Americans that we're letting in and giving citizenship are the kinds of people that we want to be our neighbors that are going to make this a better country. Our office has actually a very limited law enforcement capability, but we do.
Okay, so this is crucial. This is very crucial, and this is also why I wanted to show you guys this. One of the biggest arguments as to why there's no working with ICE agents, we hear this almost every single day from the mayor of Minneapolis, is that I only have 600 police officers, and because of that, I cannot allot you any of my officers. I mean, they should be doing some other things. And we've even heard this very recently from the governor of New York. She says, I don't want police officers, state troopers, or sheriffs working with ICE. They got to take care of crime. They got to do other things. So West Virginia, as far as capabilities, as we're about to hear, is not really, no disrespect to West Virginia, numerically speaking, or as far as how many officers they have, it's not as many as some other states or other sanctuary jurisdictions, yet they still had cooperation that seemed to go pretty well.
We work on the Medicaid and Medicare fraud units. So our office is in charge of essentially ensuring that what happened in Minnesota did not happen. So that's how I know how dalliant Keith Ellison has been, because my office does the same thing. And here, when you have a watchdog who's making sure that these tax dollars aren't being stolen, they aren't. And so it is very obvious to me that in Minnesota, they are either tacitly involved or have just intentionally overlooked this myriad of fraud. But here in West Virginia, what my job is to make sure that I am providing excellent legal advice to all of the government agencies that are involved here. And our legal advice is that the state is to work with the federal government when they're enforcing federal laws. And if you go back through history, and I don't want to inflame anyone by talking about the specific instances, but the times in which states have said, we are going to prevent the federal government from enforcing its laws, have been times of incredible tumult in this country. And those who were stopping the federal government at almost every single turn ended up 30, 40, 50 years later being the villains of the story, the people that were trying to stop the right thing from happening. So if Democrats want to change the immigration laws, that's fine. Go ahead, try. But what we're operating under now are laws that were created by the very Democrat senators who get on TV and get behind a microphone and scream and yell. But what they're really saying is that I was too incompetent to change these laws. And now, because I think they're wrong, we think you should be allowed to break the law.
And during tomorrow's morning show, don't worry, we have a lot of back and forth as far as new laws wanting to be put into place or reasoning for changing the laws. In fact, like a week ago, a lot of Democrats who you never heard them say they want to abolish ICE, we are seeing more and more politicians lean in favor of abolishing ICE, to include Democrats who are on the House Oversight Committee for Homeland Security.
And that is irrational, and as we've seen in Minnesota and throughout the country, is very dangerous. Not just for the American people, but also for the immigrants who are being found, the illegal immigrants, I should say, who are being found and processed, but also the protesters and the police officers, very, very importantly, who've been charged with enforcing these very important and long-standing federal statutes. No, we have not. I mean, there's always fraud in every system, but we have a great team of people on our Medicaid.
Okay, so I think you guys get it.
Medicaid fraud.
Just want to get some information as far as what was happening in West Virginia, because I feel like I did not do a good enough job for you guys. I typically really try to track down or find out where the next federal surge is going to be. I missed it, so I apologize, and I feel bad about that. So I just wanted to get you some more information. But it turns out everybody missed it. So cooperation, not confrontation. ICE apprehended over 650 illegal immigrants in West Virginia in just 2 weeks. We are grateful to our local partners whose cooperation facilitated a resounding success. We are seeing similar success in Alabama and other states, which demonstrates that cooperation with federal law enforcement is the safest and most effective way to ensure public safety. Sanctuary politicians who refuse to cooperate with DHS law enforcement are wasting the time, energy, and resources of law enforcement, as well as putting their own constituents in danger. Working together is the path to make America safe again. Now, I was mentioning this comment about why the Obama deportations were a little different. I found this clip, or the pushback from a protester on the ground.
It's the more people that you lose in Minnesota, you then lose a voting right to stay blue. This job has been around way before I was even born.
You had to sign up. It was definitely that bonus that did the job.
Let me get it for you guys. Here we go.
Administration and then this administration.
The stark difference is that there wasn't this much violence when it was under Obama. That's the stark difference.
But this administration has been more transparent than the Biden administration.
Well, I would love to talk about that more. Can you tell me more what you mean by that? Like, what specifically do you feel like Trump's been more transparent with?
Every time you get a serious arrest against a criminal, you put it out, right? But media does not want to show you that, especially blue state media, because it doesn't fit their narrative. The reason why, and I'm going to be completely honest, the reason why they don't want the population to go down.
Can I step closer so I can hear you? Okay.
The reason why they don't want the population to go down in Minnesota is the more people that you lose in Minnesota, you then lose a voting right to stay blue.
Okay, so you guys can let me know what you guys think about that. As far as this argument of, well, under the Obama admin, it wasn't as bad. I've only heard that a couple of times. Hey, while we're here, we're just going to do this now. Talking about an independent auditor from Minnesota. And these are popping up left and right, by the way. So I'm going to give you a little snippet. During tomorrow's show, I already have a bunch of information synced up on this. But while we're here, since you guys joined the second show of the day, let's take a look at this.
Lake, Minnesota, Jackson Purfirst joins us now. Mayor, welcome to you. So do please tell us.
And he is a mayor. This is not a random, whoever you want to say, like an influencer, a TikToker. This is a mayor. Or he might have TikTok. I don't know.
What have you uncovered there?
Thank you, Sandra. So we've seen just in the last recent month this fraud take off with federal investigators flooding the state of Minnesota, as this is a huge concern. Just last week, we had another third-party independent investigated auditing team audit the state of Minnesota, and they came up with 14 high-risk programs that could estimate up to another $1 billion in fraud alone. Fraud is impacting every citizen in the state of Minnesota, and especially city budgets. As Minnesota state government inflates their budgets on top of the fraud, that shrinks the city's ability to be able to tax their citizens if we need to do a project just to operate normal services in our communities.
So you and other mayors are banding together, and that number is apparently growing by the day.
Yeah, it's a lot of mayors.
Banding together, you're calling for accountability and reform. You want to clean up the state. But the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, says, there's nobody implicated in any of this. Nothing to see here. Well, hold on. Let me play this out. Listen here.
Okay, so Tim Walz doesn't fully deny that there's fraud, but Tim Walz kind of has that notion of, well, it's not as bad as many people are making it out to be. But we will get into all of that for tomorrow's show. This show is mainly just supposed to be about posing the question or letting you guys know this seems to be a way more prevalent talking point that we're probably going to be seeing a lot more this week. Or if not, I know some Democrats are trying to impeach Kristi Noem and will probably be bringing this up. The bad practices of Kristi Noem and using facial recognition. And I am very curious from a political standpoint how Republicans versus Democrats will feel. But based off of our own poll, it turns out the mass majority of you guys seem to be okay with it. So, alrighty. That is the second live stream of the day. And I really do appreciate all of you guys for being here. We have a really big show tomorrow, so please turn on your notifications. I'm excited about that. It's going to be a lot of back and forth and trying to figure out, is the SAVE Act going to get passed? Is DHS going to get funded? Or is the government going to shut down? And I'll be honest with you, it looks like the government might be heading into a direction of a shutdown. So we'll see what happens. All right, God bless all of you guys. I really appreciate it. And I hope I was as fair as possible with all of the different talking points. And again, God bless you. Please pray for peace. We need that right now. And please seek Christ. Thank you guys so much for everything. And we will see you all later. Thank you guys for all your support. Thank you.